Joshua Patonazi, allegedly kuri kunzi kune mupurisa weKanzuru anga asunga Mukuru weMasoja. Ndinatsoziva hangu position yenyembe dzawo mukuru wavo kuti ndiani position yavo kubasa kwavo. Asi zviri kunzi mukusunga kwavo kwaitwa kudaro vazonzi vambobuditsa mbishana. Allegedly tine mavideo atinawo pakazarwa pasaidi paMiku's hotel paya and a lot of people vanga vakuuya manje vakuchida kunatsonzwisisa kuti chii chiri kukonzeresa kuti mupurisa weKanzuru abva atyoke akumbirire regerero zvelevo irororo. Zviri kunzi mupurisa uyu asvika pakufonera vakuru vake vanga vari kubhesi kuti homana chakachaya kunoku uyai mundibatsirewo. Now I don't know kuti vakuru ava kuuya kwavanga vachiita, were they coming to rescue oro vanga vachitouyawo kunosunga mupurisa wavo weKanzuru oro vanga vachiuya kunobatsira mupurisa uyu kuti vasunge musoja uyu. But then again we do have maclips atinawo that I'm going to play for you, and after ndakuplayira maclips yawo there is going to be a video raBrett Muveti uyo achitsanangura mafungiro ake pamusoro pezvinhu zviri kuitwa kuSouth Africa sezvamunongoziva. But ladies and gentlemen, our key story in this video inyaya yemupurisa weKanzuru watiri kutaura nezvake uyu. Do you think kuti this guy acharamba ari pabasa kana kuti basa rapera? I don't know. Zvese izvi tiri kuzvitaura tichingoti allegedly, because chokwadi chaicho hachisati chanatsobuda zviri pachena. Asika, where there is smoke there is fire. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Hamu Reports and I'm out.
Welcome to part 2 of bullshit that happens in Zimbabwe. Again, I'm going to try and keep this video in English. So, recently our president said that he is increasing his presidential term limit. So, in Zimbabwe, there was supposed to be elections in 2028, which was his second term finalized, which means according to the constitution, he should step down and a new person is chosen. However, they have manipulated the constitution to state that he has now extended his office to 2030 and he signed it last week. Therefore, elections are null and void in 2028 and we will have possible elections in 2030 unless there are more changes to the constitution. Now, the constitution of Zimbabwe is very clear. If you want to change term limits, two things. Number one, you need a referendum, amongst other processes. And number two, the benefits of extending a term limit cannot apply to the incumbent. In other words, the president that is there when the term limits are extended cannot be the beneficiary of the term limit extension. In other words, he still needs to leave. Now, these have been totally ignored. And the president has done this. They have signed it, it's done. Now imagine breaking the constitution so blatantly and clearly. What makes this situation even funnier is the reason behind them doing it. So him and his Ben 10 stooges have said that they needed to break the constitution, to change it, they call it, we call it breaking, to break the constitution in order for him to continue doing such a wonderful job and needing to see through projects that he has initiated and wants to see them through to completion. Now, if there was such a joke, it would actually be so funny, it would be so sad at the same time. There is no other country possibly on this planet that is badly run or worse run than Zimbabwe. A president who resides over 80% unemployment says that he is doing a good job and wants to extend his limits. A president who presides over a country where over 30 to 35% of the workforce have left the country to go and seek jobs elsewhere. Imagine having 30% of your population leave because the country is so bad and there's no opportunity. Zimbabwe has 40 deaths per 1,000 births because the hospitals and the equipment in there are absolutely obsolete or do not exist at all. We have probably, I think it's the 4th or the 5th worst income per capita in the SADC region. And there's 16 countries. I think we're number 5. Worst per capita income. There is so much, we are classified as one of the worst red tape countries to start a business. All these facts, I could go on and on. The president thinks he's doing a good job. These are facts on the ground. The president disregards all these facts and says that he is doing a good job in Zimbabwe and therefore wanted to extend his term limits. There's also something else that happens in Zimbabwe. It's called the presidential whatever scheme. So the president's got the presidential borehole scheme, the presidential scholar scheme, the presidential this, presidential that. What happens is the president hands out these things to citizens, in effect buying them. Have you ever heard of any other presidents getting to a point where they call people to State House and give them bicycles, gives them cars, gives them money for fuel? That money that is being called the president's money is tax money. There has never been such open and blatant vote buying or bribery in the history of any country as it is in Zimbabwe. The president, through one of his intermediaries, is busy buying every single person of influence in Zimbabwe on social media. He is calling people ranging from celebrities, social media personalities, people who have a lot of following on Facebook and all that stuff, soccer stars, musicians. He is bringing them to State House, giving them and the favorite is Toyota GG6 is the most favorite one, and $50,000 fuel money. That is what the president and his sidekick Zambarafuta is doing, between giving people all these things and buying people these things, in an attempt to silence the social media narrative of what Zimbabwe is really like. Well, I'm here to fix that. I'm here to tell you the truth about what happens in Zimbabwe. Now, that is obviously controlling the social media, controlling the narrative. There are people out there who say, look, Zimbabwe is progressing, businesses are being opened, tourist spots are being visited, there's no crime, there's, things like that. Look, I hate to break this to you, but there's even very nice scenic places in Afghanistan. And there's also nice scenic places in Iraq amongst the rubble and the bombs and the killing each other. There's scenic places everywhere throughout the world. The sad part is in Zimbabwe, there's hardly any of the average citizens can see these scenic places or even visit these scenic places because they don't have money just for transportation to get there, never mind the entry fees to it or a hotel stay. So that is the reality. The reality is there are some people actually saying that Zimbabwe is better than South Africa simply because the crime rate is lower. Now, if we were to use that reasoning, that flawed reasoning, we could then say, well, colonialism was better because it didn't have a lot of crime there either. But it also fed more people. It also had a better standard of living for most people, even though the laws were absolutely horrendous against black people. But let's just ignore that because it was peaceful. Is that the reasoning you are saying we must keep the regime in power in Zimbabwe? Because that's flawed. You see, we now have a situation where we've got the planned protest for the 31st being called off because people want peace. People don't want confrontation. Now, let me just try and ask everyone who's listening, what kind of peace would you experience whilst starving? What kind of peace do you experience if your wife dies while giving birth because there's no medical supplies? What kind of peace do you experience if you're at home unemployed and your child can only eat a slice of bread twice a day? What kind of peace are you going to experience if you need to leave your family for 2 years, jump over a border, maybe get raped or stabbed, come to a country, try and look for a job, work as a gardener, live in a place that's not suitable, get the minimum amount of pay, and then see your family once every year or two? What kind of suffering is that? So are we saying for the sake of peace, we must allow regimes to exist? What kind of peace is 80% of Zimbabweans experiencing? So the regime is saying, we will be peaceful as long as you allow us to loot and steal. We will stop you from doing your rallies. We will stop you from doing your politics. We will stop you from participating in elections. We will stop you from getting a free and fair election. But we want peace. We are going to stop you from earning your money and owning your land. We are going to stop you from speaking out against the regime, but we want peace. We are going to make sure that your children cannot go to school. We are going to make sure that you cannot access hospital and medicines when you are sick. We are going to make sure when there's an accident, the chances of death are greater. But we want peace. You see, a regime's condition of peace is that we allow them to continue to steal. And if that is the condition for peace, then I prefer war. Because those conditions don't suit me. And they don't suit the vast majority of Zimbabweans. We have, this past 2 weeks, a gentleman shared videos of children being chased away from school. Now listen, let me paint this picture for you. A 7-year-old child wakes up at 5 in the morning, has no food, has no shoes. It is June and July, it's cold. They walk 10 kilometers to school. They arrive at school at 7:30, hungry, cold, but willing to be educated, and told that because they do not have $12 in school fees, they are chased away from school to go home. That is the reality in Zimbabwe. That a child, a 7-year-old child, 7, who has walked 10 Ks by themselves to arrive at school, hungry, to be chased away by a fucking government that sees it fit to buy $150,000 cars for their fucking useless ministers. That is what happens in Zimbabwe. That is what they want peace from. They treat their citizens like shit and they want peace. Fuck peace. Fuck it. If we must die, let us fucking die. because that is not peace. You own land in Zimbabwe. You think you're hearing stories of a successful land revolution and the people now own land. Let me tell you something. No one owns land in Zimbabwe besides the government. If you own land in Zimbabwe, you own it because government allows you, because you support them or you don't go against them. That is how you own agricultural land in Zimbabwe. Even land kumusha, where we call in the rural areas. Your ownership of that land is dependent on your supporting the regime. If you do not support the regime, you can be on that land for it's been 26 years since the land reform program. You can be on that land for 26 years. You could have sunk a borehole. You could have put fences, paddocks. You could have done everything. If you do not support the regime, you will be kicked off that land today. That is the reality of what people are trying to paint as a successful land reform program. It is a failed program. Because what has happened is the regime has taken ownership of land so that they can take ownership of you. Because if you do not vote for the regime or you do not support the regime, they will simply take the land back. And if you are a peasant in Zimbabwe and you do not have land, you will starve to death. Everything that I am saying here is the facts on the ground in Zimbabwe. 6 million Zimbabweans ran away from free land. That's how important land seems to be in Zimbabwe. 6 million people left free land to come and work as waiters and garden boys and carers in England. The land reform program is a failure. If you mark it correctly and look at it holistically, it is a failure. That's just on the surface. If we talk about the starvation, the running away, the losing your family, burnt homesteads, crossing the border, getting robbed, raped and shot, if we put all of that into the equation, it's even worse. These are things that happen in Zimbabwe. They need to be exposed. Share this video. Tag as many people as you can. Keep spreading the word. There is an illegal mafia regime that is running Zimbabwe. Warande Zimbabwe, mweta zora kana.